October 2022 Africa Plus report. The food price since January 1, 2022 has only gone up by 122%. Since the start of the year 2022, food prices have increased sharply in many countries, largely due to the Russia-Ukraine, and this is according to the Food Price Index report. Ghana has recorded a very sharp price increase in food for the continent of Africa. For us to explore further on this particular issue, find out why and what can be done about it, especially with such an agrarian country like us, I have Cccfs Suleimana, who is a director of Research Center for Climate Change and Food Security. Cccf, good morning to you.
Good morning, my brother.
I hope you're well.
Your cherished listener. Yes, I'm good by the grace of God.
All right.
Thank you.
First of all, does this report come to you as a surprise? And I mean, the foundation has got to do with the country Ghana and how agriculture happens to be something that is a go-to for everybody. But does this come to you as a surprise?
No, it doesn't come to me as a surprise, particularly as researchers or as someone who has been monitoring our agricultural sector and food system in Ghana over a couple of years. I knew that we didn't have sustainable food production systems in Ghana. I also knew that our agricultural system was very volatile. I knew that any event could sweep us off our feet, and exactly that is what we are witnessing. So all the big talks about how Ghana is growing agriculturally and how Ghana is becoming self-sufficient have been exposed by the advent of COVID-19 as well as the Russia-Ukraine war, which I think its effect is quite minimal. But it goes to the point that our agricultural system is not as robust as one would have us believe. So I'm not surprised because this is something that would happen to any system that is not built on very strong foundation. So I'm not surprised.
All right. Let's talk about the system that is not built on strong foundation. I mean, we started agriculture for a very long time now. How come that foundation is not strong?
It's because we have decided not to modernize agriculture. We have decided not to engage the right people to help us build the solid agricultural foundation that we need to usher us into a regime where we have a self-reliant agricultural system. So over the years, nothing has been seen much as far as agricultural modernization is concerned. And you have a situation where agriculture is not seen as a viable alternative for livelihood. And so you find many young people, intellectuals, who think that agriculture should be left to people in the rural areas. And so you don't have this enthusiasm of the masses who, for example, would have the right expertise and understanding going into agriculture. You don't have massive corporate investments in agriculture, unlike what we see in developed countries like where I am in Germany, where you have just a little over 1% of the population in agriculture, yet they are able to produce more than 60% of the food they need. And this is because the services of the experts are sought, and this is because agriculture has been modernized. But Ghana still are stuck in the olden methods of agricultural production. And so if you are stuck in an 18th century method of agricultural production, then you will not expect to have results that will be aligned with 21st or 21st century agricultural problems, or cannot provide solutions for 21st century agricultural problems. So this is why our foundation is weak. We have always tried to use knee-jerk approach. And you see, if I take, for example, the government Planting for Food and Job program.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not new. I have been praising. I have a paper on the history of agricultural interventions in Ghana, and you would see that all governments have done this. Even in the colonial eras, they would come up with a program. We call it the Green Revolution. They'll come up with a program and then supply seeds, and then after a period of time, everybody goes back to sleep. But that is not how you improve agricultural systems. You don't get up one day and supply farmers with inputs and improved seeds and think that the outcome would be sustainable. This is not a sustainable solution. This is a knee-jerk, approach. If you want a solid foundation, you go to the basics, the rudiments of agricultural production. You set up the right institutions to have a consistent monitoring of agricultural systems. So, for example, you remember that some time ago we used to have extension officers who were going around. I'm not sure these days you still have all these institutions functioning anymore. I remember, if you read Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's agricultural mechanization strategy, I think after Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, no government has deliberately put in place a strategy to mechanize agriculture apart from Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So if you have situations where things in the past appear to have even been better than now, then you cannot have any viable agricultural system to solve the 21st century problems that agriculture faces.
But so what about the other side of the argument that says that this necessarily does not mean that we don't have food available? The availability of food is there, but the increase has got to do with other related factors that is not necessarily the availability of food. Factors like good roads, factors like transportation fare, that is really affecting the cost of food.
Good. So this argument cannot be valid because if you look at, first of all, one reason why I was not even surprised about the World Bank's report, if you monitor the report, the comprehensive food security and vulnerability analysis report by the Ghana Statistical Service for 2022, which they released in September, you would see that they had already said about 50% of Ghanaians were at the verge of food insecurity. So this is why one of the reasons why I'm not surprised about the World Bank's report. Now to the question. Yes, agriculture is a system. That's why we keep saying agricultural system. So you have from production and between production from the paddock to plate, or from the field to the fork, that is the dining table. There are a lot of processes in between, and if you don't get these processes right, you would have the consequences that we are facing now. So if anybody were to make the argument that it is not necessarily about production and that it is other factors that is influencing the prices, that will not be right, because first of all, Ghana is a net importer of food. What does it mean to be a net importer of food? It means that you primarily depend on imports to survive. So when you have external or exogenous factors such as COVID and the Ukrainian war, you will be hit badly because factors that are causing the food prices to increase are exogenous in nature. And this is a country that is also depending on external, external countries, or countries that are not in Ghana, or let me say, depending on external sources for food sustenance. So when you have such a situation, then exogenous factors will hit you so badly. Because imagine COVID is affecting everybody in the world. It's affecting Germany, but why are they sustainable? Because their internal agricultural system is robust. But if you have a country where over 60% of your food comes from outside, then it cannot be right to say that it is the roads and other things that is affecting the food prices. No, it is because, first of all, we are not producing enough. Our agricultural system is not solid enough. And that is why, first of all, we are net importers of food. If we had a very strong agricultural foundation, we will not be net importer of food. So every country that has solid agricultural system is not a net importer of food. So just at a glance, the mere fact that Ghana is a net importer of food exposes the weaknesses in our agricultural system. And I mention again that when you are a net importer of food, every exogenous factor is risky for you compared to countries that are dominantly dependent on their own internal agricultural system.
Okay. So we'll leave it here. You're in Germany, so we'll get back to you. Hopefully, when you get back to Ghana, we can sit down and have an extensive conversation about agri-care in Ghana here.
But quickly,
yes.
give one or two solutions that I think that government needs to put in place. So immediately, planning for food and job is good, but we need to find a way to make it sustainable because these interventions have been one too many. All governments in the past have done these interventions. They come and provide farmers with improved seedlings and some inputs, and then agriculture booms for a short while, and then it goes back to its dormant state. So we need to look at planning for food and job again and look at how to sustain it. And I've heard the Minister for Agriculture complain that if money is not made available, planning for food and job cannot continue. But it's quite bizarre to think it this way because I know that planning for food and jobs, the money that were put in were supposed to be recouped back from the beneficiaries. So why must we continuously depend on government putting in money into agriculture without really reaping back the money that we're supposed to get from the beneficiaries so that the program will be sustainable? So this is one thing that we need to do. Secondly, I think that government needs to regulate the pricing regime because some of the things are led by speculations. And Ghana, because our poverty rate is around 11%, that is, most of the people live below $1.9 a day. So we are a price-sensitive country. So when you have a price-sensitive country, it means that every little adjustment in the prices could push a lot of people below the food security line. So what you do as a government is to put in place enough mechanisms to ensure that speculators do not take advantage of the system and increase food prices.
Okay. So we'll leave it here for now. Thank you very much for your time. We'll get back to you as and when you get back to us in Ghana, we can continue our conversation with agriculture and how best we can just make it that sustainable for all of us. And if